Fargo Season 5 kicks off in the suburban area of Minnesota in 2019 in a local school meeting which has turned into violence. We see Dorothy, aka Dot, and her daughter sitting in shock and not involving in the violent scenes. While going out, she gets caught into the violence with the math teacher and then accidentally tasers a police officer and ends up in the police station. She is released through the influence of her wealthy mother-in-law, Lorraine Lyon, who, by the way, despises her. The next morning, after sending her daughter to school and her husband to work, she is attacked by two intruders who intend to kidnap her. She puts up a good fight, but at the end, they manage to take her. When she is riding in the back seat of the kidnapper's van, two North Dakota deputies pull over the van and Dot finds her opportunity to run away. Dot runs to a nearby gas station with one of the deputies who has been injured. The kidnappers follow them and a shootout takes place. Dorothy saves injured deputy with Farr, killing one of the kidnappers in the process before leaving on foot and returning home. When she returns home, she tells her husband Wayne and the local authorities that nothing ever happened and she just left for a few hours to clear her head. Of course, everyone is shocked by this confession, given the presence of all kinds of evidence, including someone else's blood in the house. In the second episode, we unravel the identity behind the kidnapping. Dorothy's abusive ex-husband Roy Tillman, an outlaw sheriff who regularly assaulted and abused her, is the culprit. He is not only a threat to his own family but also a threat to his own county and even country, as he sees himself as the law and provides heavy arms for outlaw militia. After 10 years of searching for Dot, who had changed her identity and been very careful to remain spotless, her fingerprints that were enrolled in the system allows Roy to track her down. Despite the first kidnap attempt failing miserably, Roy does not give up and is obsessed with capturing Dorothy to give her the punishment he feels she deserves. So they decide to try another time. This time they choose Halloween night, as everyone is already dressed up and no one will suspect them being in disguise. On the other hand, Dorothy, knowing his ex-husband, prepares herself and her family. So, when they finally attack her at the Halloween night, she manages to defeat him, but her husband Wayne ends up in her own trap and is electrified. The house also gets fire in the process, but the good news is that they can escape one more time. Dot's mother-in-law Lorraine has enough of her and admits her to a mental hospital from which she successfully escapes. But before escaping, she sees Gator, Roy's son, in the hospital and realizes that they are here to kidnap Wayne. So she changes the tag name on Wayne's room with another patient and then hides him in the bathroom before running away. Then she goes into her mother-in-law's house, which is heavily guarded, and manages to take her daughter. After entrusting her daughter to the local deputy Indra, she drives away. In the meantime, Roy meets with Dot's mother-in-law and asks her to give him his wife back. Lorraine, despite disliking her daughter-in-law, doesn't accept Roy's offer. Later, we see that Indra, who has already found out about Dorothy's past, shows the pictures of her being beaten up by her husband, and Lorraine is now convinced to help her. In episode 7, we follow Dorothy after she escapes from the hospital and drives away. We see her going to a diner. At this diner, there is a postcard of a safe haven called Camp Utopia. She sits at the table and orders a pancake. While staring at the pancake, which has a face of a puppet, she enters a state of illusion. She sees herself finding the postcard and going to the Camp Utopia, where all the women who were abused in their lives get together to support each other, and all of them are called Linda. Linda actually was Roy's first wife, who had found Dot when she was a 15-year-old girl wandering in the streets and shoplifting, and brought her to her house so she could distract her husband and manage to run away. Dot, that feels Linda owes her, wants to convince her to come with her to the FBI and confess everything about her husband and all his illegal activities. But the rule of the camp is that if you want them to hear you, you must first tell your story through a puppet show. So Dot creates her own puppet and tells her story, and at the end, Linda accepts to come with her to the police. When they are on the way in Dot's car, Dot wakes up from her daydreaming and we see her in the diner eating her pancake. And of course, later we realize that Linda actually was killed by Roy many years ago. Then, when Dot goes out of the diner, an accident takes place and she gets injured and is taken to the hospital where Roy finds her. When Roy wants to release her from the hospital, Fargo sees them and wants to help her and take her home. Dot, that is afraid of Roy, tells Vit that she is okay. Vit feels that she is not telling the truth, so he reports everything to Indra. Dot is taken to Roy's ranch and is chained in a barn. Vitvar comes to the ranch and asks for Dot, but they threaten to kill him if he ever comes back. On his way back, he sees Danish, Lorraine's lawyer, and tells him everything. Danish then goes to the ranch and threatens Roy, not knowing that he is not the type to be threatened. On the other hand, Indra goes to Lorraine's house and tells her everything about her daughter-in-law and asks for help, knowing that she can use her influence in police and even the army to solve this problem. Roy, who is alarmed, calls his own men from all over county and prepares himself to face the FBI and the army. In the meantime, Dot manages to free herself from the chains and go to the house. She goes to Roy's bedroom and calls her husband, but Roy's wife comes and threatens her with a gun. Dot hits her, makes her unconscious, and grabs her phone so she can call Indra, who now works as a private guard for Lorraine, and tells her that Danish was killed. Long story short, the army and FBI fight with Roy's men, but at the end he got shot by Dot and manages to escape. While he is running away through a secret tunnel, he fights Vitvar and kills him. But at the end of the tunnel, when he thinks that he has freed himself, the FBI agents find him. At the end of the series, we see Roy behind bars, visited by Lorraine. She tells him that she has bought all the deaths of the most dangerous prisoners in return to make the prison a hell for him, so that he can be treated exactly as he treated the women in his life. Fargo Season 5 is most faithful to the original 1996 movie, especially in the first episode. But as we move forward, we see more action, more drama, and even more supernatural forces in the series, so don't miss it.